And welcome back to Hot and Cold Podcast. Today is Friday, March 4th. Happy Friday, Connor. And yeah, we are about to dive right into the NCAA tournament. Conference tournaments are up and running right now. In our hometown of Evansville, Indiana, the Ohio Valley Conference has started. It's picking up. Go Racers, go Murray State. I know a lot of people that go to that college. But before we get started with this episode, by the way, ton of segments. It will probably be a long podcast, so a lot of content for y'all. But how you doing, Connor?
Good. I'm ready to get in this. I'm a little on edge.
Yeah.
Just looking at the bubble really frustrates me at times. So
also plug. We look. I run the podcast. I do a lot of the whatever. I do a lot of the boss things and managing and whatever producing. But Connor does our spaces and he hosts them and he's really good at it. And we found a way to add our space recordings to our podcast feed. So those who don't know us from Twitter, those that don't follow us, whatever, you can see that cool. It's almost like a radio show for post games. And we are going to be able to send those to the podcast feed, which is amazing. A great new feature that we can do. That was dreadful. We're probably not going to talk a lot about Indiana and Rutgers today. We might not even talk about it at all. But if you want to hear about that in Indiana, go listen to it. Connor did a great job with that. But yes, we're going to do all right. What I do want to say what we're doing for this episode, we're doing a little recap of the week, tiny little recap. I don't think we want to spend too much time on it. The wheel is back, so that's pretty great. And we're getting into bubble talk with Connor. And then we're doing some previews for the weekend. So a packed episode. This is a great one to listen to or watch, whatever. You're going to want to watch this for the wheel. Anyways, let's talk about the Big Ten. So it started off in the most weird way possible. Ohio State plays Nebraska at home. Nebraska, who is a dreadful team, they are dreadful to watch, comes in, beats Ohio State. Look, we've talked about Ohio State a lot. They're a team that they're kind of volatile too. Like we talk about Alabama's being volatile. Ohio State is that same way. They have some great wins on the season. They beat Duke. But then they turn around and they have these. They have these a lot. And EJ Liddell did all he could. Malachi Branham just didn't really play his best game. Nebraska walked in and beat them. Connor, as a Big Ten, this is going to be a Big Ten heavy recap because it was a crazy week. But Connor, what were your thoughts from that game? I know it seems like forever ago since we're in March.
Yeah, Nebraska has these games where it's just like, what the hell just happened? Like, how did they do this? And as bad as Fred Hoiberg has been, there's always one or two of these every single year.
Yeah.
Where it makes you wonder how they aren't more successful throughout the season. It is concerning for Ohio State. I mean, they did rebound and beat Michigan State at home after that, which was a positive for them. But it's still, like you said, they are a team that relies on their offense. And when everything isn't clicking, things don't go well for them. So they are a team that I have zero confidence in making a big run in the tournament.
Definitely. It kind of reminds me of that team from last year that lost to Oral Roberts in the first round. Like they're that volatile
with less scoring. By the way, they don't have Dwayne Washington.
Yeah, they're going to be very interesting when you're picking out your March Madness. Those are one of those teams. Like this is what we're doing by recapping these games. They're kind of looking around at the middle of the pack, and we're picking upsets before the matchups are even out there. And so I think Ohio State has kind of put themselves in that conversation along with, the Providences of the world. So kind of moving on later that night, Purdue, Wisconsin. That was a battle towards the end. Connor you don't like either of these teams whatsoever. That's fair. That's very fair. But look, what Wisconsin, they host Purdue. I think they're dogs in the game. And look, I know it came down to a buzzer beater, but they played them very well. They played them about as well as you can play Purdue without Johnny Davis doing Johnny Davis things. Like, look, he still had what do you have, like 18 still, but he was pretty much neutralized in the first half. Chucky Hepburn had a fantastic into the game, so shout out to him with that, that classic, instant classic shot at the end. Real concerns about Purdue, real concerns. Like, I don't think it's not something that they can hide from.
I've been here, by the way.
You have. No, you definitely have. I've said the same things. Like, I've always had concerns about Purdue, but they've always had the chance to fix that. They've always had the chance to kind of fix that down the stretch and be fine for March. They're not there, and they're not even close to there. They're worse than they were at the beginning of the season. I think they've regressed throughout the year. And a lot of it stems from they have no perimeter defense whatsoever. Look, they did great on Johnny Davis, but they were sending doubles. They were doing everything they could. Jaden Ivey had to work his ass off on the defensive end. Couldn't get it going on the offensive end until the very end. And it showed. I mean, the big men experiment. It's fine. It's whatever. But they're kind of to the point. It's really hard to play, Travion and Edey at the same time if they're going up against a fast-paced team. And you're killing yourself because those are two of your best players if you can't have one on the court for the end of the game. So I'm interested. How far do you see this Purdue team going in the NCAA tournament?
That's an interesting question. I'd kind of have to see the region, but I think they're good enough to make the Sweet 16. Like, I don't have any doubt that they can win at least 2 games, but getting past that seems almost unattainable at this point. I mean, just looking at their stats and the team stats from the Wisconsin game, they don't shoot the three very well outside of Mackey, but even against Wisconsin, they shot 38%, which is terrible.
No, yeah.
But they shot 55% from the free throw line. Same thing happened at IU. They didn't shoot the three very well as they normally do at home, and they missed a ton of free throws, and it cost them. And this is the theme with Purdue. And it's one of the most underrated home court advantages, I think, in college basketball that really doesn't get talked about because Purdue's, let's just be real, they're boring. Like, nobody likes talking about Purdue. They're just boring. They just win a lot of games, and they're not very Jaden Ivey's been different this year, obviously. He brings an excitement they haven't had.
Yes.
But even with that, nobody wants – I mean, they've got giant perimeter or giant post players. It's just kind of a boring flow to their offense. And it's a good one, but it's just they don't have a lot of star power normally. And Jaden Ivey, even with that, nobody really likes to talk about him. But the thing that always comes back to me is they've never really had a true point guard to kind of get them going in their offense. Jaden Ivey does a lot of the handling for them.
Yeah.
Because they have such a gaping hole at that position. Eric Hunter Jr. has been there for 4 years, I want to say. And I mean, he's just not that guy. And he hasn't been. And it's kind of cost them since he's been there. And they just haven't had it. And I think that's really their Achilles heel going into the tournament. Because Ivey, if he has a bad game, I mean, there's no way they win.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to having your best guard. If he is able to float off the ball and be able to get open, get easy shots, and not have to take every guy off the dribble, then that's a huge plus for your offense. They don't have somebody next to him that can do that. Like, Stefanovic is the guy that, he floats around, he gets open for three, but he adds nothing else. There is nothing else that Stefanovic adds to this team. Look, we said at the beginning of the year, I don't think anybody would have projected Purdue at the end of the year, and I'm not acting like that this is a big amount of losses, that they would have 6 losses because their roster was that good. Everybody
They were
was
going to run
in
through the
awe.
Big Ten. They were going to
Mhm.
run through the Big Ten and basically go undefeated. That was the narrative to start the season.
Yeah. Yes.
Especially after their beginning of the season stretch when they beat North Carolina, then they beat Villanova. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's
Mhm.
over.
Yeah.
Like they're going to win. They're going to be a 1 seed for sure." So,
and look, for good reason. Like that roster on paper is great.
Yeah.
But when you start looking down, like, because they have so many guys that can contribute, but when you start looking at the production that they add, like they don't add much. Like you look at Caleb First, put up 0. That Mason Gillis is fine. I know he's in foul trouble, put up 5. Like they have all of these guys, they have all these contributors, whatever. They don't really do anything. And that's going to be produce Achilles heel, especially if they keep that rotation. So like they played 9 guys against Wisconsin. If they're not able to shorten that rotation in the tournament,
won't.
they're screwed. They're screwed.
They won't shorten it.
They're
and
screwed.
We're to the point now, and I've been dogging on them just, partially because I'm an IU fan, but it's to the point now where they're honestly going to become underrated because so many people are writing them off, including me. And that's going to be an interesting thing as far as how far people are going to have them going in their bracket, because they're probably going to be a 3.
Right now, they're a
3 seed
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really in the 1 seed conversation for the majority of the season.
Yes.
And now they're going to be a 3. So I think that, like we talked about it with UCLA, if they keep losing and they're to the point where it's everybody's written them off, right, and then that's when they're going to make their run. So, but I don't think it happens.
I think they'd rather be in that kind of underdog mentality, though. I think that's what
I've said it. Matt Painter cannot. He is so much better.
He can't deal with expectations.
He can't be a front runner. Like he just can't do it. So
no, I mean that, and I just don't think he can coach in the tournament either. I think I just think that's something. But and finally, won't harp on it too long. From earlier in the week, Indiana Rutgers. I was at the game. I let you go on the spaces, but I just have a comment. Just as a college basketball fan, not as an IU hater, experiencing what I did in Connor, like close your ears because this is not going to make you happy, but experiencing what I did when Parker Stewart hit that shot and the arena went insane. Like it was loud. And almost immediately when Ron Harper hit that shot, the next shot, you could hear a pin drop in that building.
Oh yeah.
I've never experienced something like that. And it was just college basketball. It was college basketball at its finest. What happened? Sorry, it had to happen to you and kind of crush your dreams a little bit.
It's happened.
That was fantastic.
It's happened to Indiana fans twice now. Not to go on the football tangent, but the only other time that I really experienced something like that was
the Cincinnati game.
Was the Cincinnati game. Yeah. That's just silence. And it was just like such a defeating moment where and it's been the typical thing all year. They reel you in, just to crush you in the end. But again, I've kind of been talking about it today, and we'll get into it down the line, that they have a very unlikely chance to make the tournament, but there's a path. Possible.
There's a road.
And we'll kind of get into that later. But as a delusional IU fan, I have already convinced myself that they can do it. We're going to the Big Ten tournament. We're going to go to their first game.
We're going to have live coverage there.
Not good if you go off of what happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, that was a really fun experience to witness the booing and everything else. It was something that I'm glad I was just there to see. I feel like Indiana fans will remember that, which honestly they shouldn't want to, because it's kind of embarrassing. But we'll see.
No, yeah, fair. But that's all I wanted to get into from the week. Also, shout out TCU. I know they lost last night to Kansas. They're good.
I am worried about Kansas, by the way.
You want to get into Kansas?
We can
get into Kansas for a second. Yeah, well, this is already going to be a long podcast, so we might as well. Kansas has a lots and lots of problems.
Yeah.
Look, they made a couple great plays down, and that's what happens at Allen in close games. They made a couple great plays down the stretch against TCU. DeJuan Harris blocking that shot. Did I just make I just had a brain fart. I'm sorry. If that's not his name, I apologize. I'm good. Okay. Him blocking Mike Miles down the stretch was a fantastic play. And you don't see a point guard of that size doing that ever. So shout out to him. They have a lot of problems, and it all kind of circles back to defensively. Why are you kind of worried about them now? I've been worried about them for a long time, but why are you?
Basically this entire season, for the most part, it's been Agbaji, Cameron Brown, and then somebody else in and out kind of consistently. Jalen Wilson really picked it up for a stretch, and that was when I was like, okay, they're going to be fine. And now it's come to the point where Jalen Wilson is kind of back to his inconsistent good game here, 13.7 rebounds, and then he'll have like 5 points. And that's a little concerning. And again, Brown is a great player. You can't really rely on him to score, though. Like, I don't want to rely on him to have to get me 15 to 17 points per game. And you saw in the Baylor game, Agbaji didn't play well, and they couldn't recover from that. And then you look at the TCU game, it was the same way. I mean, Agbaji was 4 of 17. That's your game right there. So they're really reliant on him, and that's not a bad thing. He's one of the best players in the country, but at the same time, that is a recipe for an upset.
Definitely,
because if he doesn't
especially
play
if it's
well,
not your guard that's the guy you rely on, because you need somebody to give him the ball.
They don't have anybody else. Remy Martin has been I think, the biggest bust.
Yeah.
Probably out of anybody else in the portal. And you can look everywhere, but as far as expectations go,
Definitely.
Even for me, I thought it was going to be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas swung and missed in the portal. We've talked about Indiana. Coleman Lands has done nothing for them. Remy Martin has done nothing. Yusufu has done literally nothing. I mean, 3 whiffs, and their depth has taken a major hit from that.
I don't want to say I called it, but I kind of called it on the transfers. I look at when Yusufu, when he transferred, I remember having Bryson on this podcast, and Bryson telling me that he is going to be a great addition to Kansas. And I was like,
you don't even use it.
But for what?
You literally don't even use
exactly. Like,
which
what is he going to do?
Me.
Yeah. And they have the depth there. I think Remy Martin is the classic case of why the transfer portal is dangerous. I think the Big 12, apart from James Akinjo, I think they were the ones that got hurt the most by the transfer portal, because of you see Texas, Trey Mitchell leaving the program, his dad calling out Chris Beard on Twitter. And that's obvious. That experiment isn't working out. Crazy to say, because Texas is still a top 25 team. Kansas, Remy Martin, who's supposed to be a first-team All-American, your preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. He was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. That is crazy. And he has not done anything for Kansas. He doesn't even touch the floor. And yes, they got hurt the most by the transfer portal, and they got burned. They got absolutely burned. And then there's Texas Tech, who took the guys, that weren't the big names, and you see they're kind of succeeding. But I don't know.
The volatility of the portal is so insane, and
it's hard to have a take on it. They're like,
it really is.
I just walked in a circle on that take.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we've talked about it. Indiana's got a chance to like revamp their roster, but again, it's a dangerous game you're playing, because it might not work. So, and then there's Kentucky, obviously they did well in the portal. Probably, I would say the best in the country. Like, I don't know of any team that's really hit on guys as much as they have.
Definitely.
As far, I mean, if you count Sheboy in there, they've got a National Player of the Year candidate,
Mm-hmm.
a point guard that is he top 5 in assists per game?
Yes, I believe so. He definitely was. I don't know if he dropped off, but
He might
he's
have with the injury.
top 5 in the Bob Cousy Award finalists.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the
And then
finalists.
you have Kellen Grady, who's at least a 40% 3-point shooter, which is all you need.
Right.
And all you really expected from him. So
Right.
that is just playing into the fact that there's going to be parity in college basketball. And I think it's a good thing to a certain degree. I think the portal is probably, I don't know, it's kind of gotten out of control to a certain degree. Like Trey Mitchell just up and leaving like he did. Like, I don't think that's right, but it makes things fun.
It's because this is what happens when you change a rule in any sport. When people have to sit out with transferring, that they're obviously de-incentivizing leaving your program. But now just changing the rule is kind of incentivizing people to say, okay, well, maybe the grass is greener. Like people think that, and they realize it's not. This is an experiment year, and you're going to see that slow down. I don't know if it'll slow down next year, but you're going to see it kind of even out and balance. Like, I think there's going to be a time when we have like the same amount of transfers as we did before the rule. I just think the rule is necessary because
it is.
It was stupid. I mean, it was stupid that you have to sit out when you leave your program. That's dumb. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of my opinion on it. Like,
these players that have left, and Texas is a great example of it because they bring in a bunch of guys who were the number one option.
All of them.
Timmy Allen, Trey Mitchell, Marcus Carr, like all of them were the number one
Dylan
option.
Dessou.
He doesn't even play.
Right.
Like he literally doesn't play, which he probably does now because Trey Mitchell's gone, but he hadn't played. And Remy Martin's another one. Yusufu, like those guys transferred in and they're playing a completely different role now. That's the thing that I think you have to be careful with in the portal. If you're going to get a guy in, Severe Wheeler,
yeah,
he's the same role he had at Georgia. Yeah, the exact same role. That works out okay. Kellen Grady's role obviously is diminished a little bit, but he's a shooter. Shooters are the one thing I think that you can look at and say, okay, they're plugging any rotation. Like that's the one consistent factor. But as far as number one options, you almost don't even want to go there unless you can promise them that they will still have that same role.
You got to be careful. Like, is there I know there's got to be one out there that I'm just not thinking of that successfully went to a bigger program as the number one option at a smaller program and is killing it right now.
What's that? Sorry.
Is there one example of somebody who was the first option at a smaller program, went to a bigger program, and is killing it, aside from like Kellen Grady, who is a spot up shooter?
I mean,
I can't think of it
as a number one like scoring option.
Yeah,
I don't really know. Like it's a fair question. I think Timmy Allen's probably had a good season at Texas. Like I think he's made some big shots for them, but it is. I mean, Akinjo at Baylor. I mean, kind of, but like you said, I don't know. I can't think of one.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting question. I know if anybody knows that or of a player that we're missing, let us know because I would really love to know. And I'm sure there's one that I just can't think of off the top of my head. Maybe Alfonso Plummer, but even then he played with Timmy Allen. So I don't know. I don't know for sure if he was, number one guy, but let's kind of move on. We have a wheel. It's everybody's favorite thing on earth. Let me get this up. Last time we stopped recording, but I think we can do this pretty smoothly. We have a wheel here, and we're going to do what we did last time. We're going to do the wheel of debates. I'm going to spin one for Connor. I'm going to spin one for myself, and then we're going to debate who's the better team. I don't know how many teams I have in here because I added some. So it's definitely more than 12. Last time we did 12, definitely more than that. And we're going to see. It's the top, whatever, probably 14 teams in the country. We're going to see who can win this debate. All right, Connor, you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. This is yours right here. Whoa. All right, you got Texas Tech. You got Texas Tech. Okay. That's not a bad team to have. Because you can argue. I'm not going to spoil your argument, but all right, here we go. Here's mine right here. Definitely video podcast, by the way.
Wow. This is perfect.
If you're listening to this, you didn't just see the reaction I just had. That was, I got Kansas. I haven't even said who I got yet. I got Kansas. That hurts.
I don't even need to write anything down to defend Texas Tech. I just all right, let's do this. This is going to be the easiest debate in the world. I basically just explained my entire argument 2 minutes ago. You go first, since I already kind of explained it.
Okay.
I need you to go first so I can see how I need to respond to this. This is impossible. You had to do Duke last time we did this, which is much easier than
that was a little bit easier. Okay. Oh, just let me gather some thoughts because this is very hard.
All right, I'll go first then, because you're
no, I can do it. I can do it. All right,
here we go.
So in this debate, how we've always framed it as better, right? Better. And you have to kind of define at this point in the season what means better. Who wins head to head? Who goes farther in the tournament? I'm going to say who goes farther in the tournament. And look, when you're looking at Kansas, you're looking at their KenPom, top 5 offense in the country. Top 5 offense. You can't teach that. If they get hot, they can beat any team in the country. Sure, they've sprinkled in some bad games here and there, whatever. But Hall of Fame coach, let me give you this recipe. Hall of Fame coach, National Player of the Year, top 5 offense in the country. One of the National Player of the Year candidates. He's not going to win. One of the candidates for National Player of the Year. Sprinkle all that in, and you got a pretty damn good team. I'm looking at Texas Tech, 44th ranked offense in the country. Look, their defense is great. But great offense is better than great defense in almost any argument you can have. And I think Kansas just out firepowers Texas Tech in a matchup, in a head-to-head, and they have the ability to make a run in the tournament just off that offense alone. Yeah.
Just wrote it down on my one note. Defense wins championships. Offense isn't sustainable. So there's that. And like I just pointed out, Texas Tech has a lot of guys that have scored for them recently. I mean, Kevin O'Banner is basically been their number 3 option almost the entire season.
Kevin O'Banner.
And look at what he did last year in the tournament. Look at what he did. And it's just crazy to me that they haven't used him even more than they could. You want to talk about Bill Self in the tournament? What? I mean, there's no way you couldn't even say it with a straight face. I mean, go watch the video, people. I mean, he's lying straight through his teeth. This guy's an epic choke artist. And not to mention that Agbaji, outside of him, their offense is fraudulent. Inconsistent role players. They have no bench. Jalen Wilson is in and out, and McCormick has been an epic letdown this year. I mean, it's not even a debate. Kansas defensively is not good. Their offense looks good on paper. Watch one of their games. It is abysmal. They don't have a point guard that can score. Hey, this isn't even a question. As far as who can go farther in the tournament, what can you rely on from these two teams? Texas Tech consistently is a top 5 defense in the country. That's who they are. They bring that every night. Sometimes their games can get a little ugly because their offense struggles, but it doesn't matter because their defense is always there. Kansas, if their offense is so hit or miss, their offense isn't there, they're done. They're done. This is a no-brainer. Kansas, like we just said, recipe for an upset. I'm looking in probably the second round as a major possibility for an upset. I don't think they lose in the first round. They're probably going to be a 2 seed. The 2-15 upset doesn't happen very often, but it has. And it's happened to a Big 12 team. It's happened to Big 12 teams in the past, so maybe it does.
What team are you referencing? Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Texas Tech, look. Texas Tech obviously is a team with an abysmal offense. When you watch their abysmal.
Is it abysmal though?
It's abysmal, yes. Well, everybody will make the argument. Yeah, they slow down the game, they grind it up, whatever. They're bad. They take bad shots. They don't really have great sets, and they rely heavily on stopping the other team in front of them.
So they just put up 83 on Baylor.
Okay, well,
in regulation.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. I'm just saying, like, Baylor's is the top defense in regards to steals in the country, and they just put up 83 on them. Had 4 dudes in double figures.
Connor, I'm trying. I'm looking for any argument.
You're not trying. You're failing.
I'm failing. Okay. I might chalk this one up. I will. I
just need to move on. This isn't even possible.
I reserve the right to fall on my sword because look, we destroyed Kansas earlier in the episode. If I knew that the wheel was going to land on Kansas, I wouldn't have partaked in that argument. I would not have partaked because I already showed what I believe. And when you show a weakness like that, you're screwed. You're done. You're just done. So that's the first clear-cut win of all of these debates.
Yeah. I mean, all the other ones, I mean, I think I had to defend Providence, which...
While I was defending Duke.
Like, come on. I mean,
yeah.
Providence, again, like, after that, they showed some things, but still, like, it was...
You want to do one more? I know we're kind of going...
Let's do one more. That was a little bit unfair.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I want to be able to have our audience, have a good argument at least. Let's see.
All right. I want Kentucky for this.
This is you. Or do you want me to spin again? No, I already did Duke. I'm not doing
No,
Duke.
I'll take Duke. I wanted Kentucky just you would have to convince someone that Kentucky would be the better team, which would be hilarious, but it's fine.
All right, you got Duke.
All right, come on. Oh, yes. Yes. This has been the greatest segment of all time. This is fantastic. This is unbelievable.
Why does the wheel hate me?
Oh my God. This is going to be, I mean, do we even need to do this?
No, I can argue for Auburn. I can argue for Auburn. Okay. It's fine. You can go first.
All right. Look, Duke, they are one of the hottest teams in the country. They have lost one game since January 22nd. I get it.
What game was that? Just for reference.
They lost the Virginia game.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean,
make sure.
Buzzer beater. What are you going to do? Playing Tony Bennett, Hall of Fame coach, something's going to happen. And it was kind of, it was kind of naive of fans, even us, to say that they were going to run through the ACC, even though it's terrible. That's not how that works in college basketball, unless you're Gonzaga in a terrible conference, which is better this year. But Duke just won their first ACC regular season title since, I think, 2006, if I'm not mistaken, which is honestly insane to even think about. Look, I think they're playing their best basketball down the stretch. Trevor Keels, Paulo Banchero, AJ Griffin, Wendell. They have so many options, and not to mention they have the best rim protector probably in the ACC, maybe in the country. It's up for debate. I mean, we're about to talk about another rim protector, Walker Kessler, but Mark Williams is a legit rim protector, and they don't really have any weaknesses. They shoot the three really well. AJ Griffin really came onto the scene late in the year and has continued to play well for them. And they've got Coach K, and he as much as anybody's going to want to go out on top. And I think the team is going to play extremely hard for him in the tournament.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're doing a boycott game this weekend. In case you guys have not turned on ESPN, Coach
Megacast.
K, yeah, mega. Yeah. Oh yeah. But okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. When you are comparing Duke and Auburn, there's a lot of similarities. Like they kind of mirror each other. You see Jabari Smith at the 4, you see Paulo Banchero at the 4. Those are 2 top draft picks, especially the front court, by the way. And you see Walker Kessler at the 5, this great rim protector, huge, and then Mark Williams. The difference really comes in the backcourt. Auburn's backcourt is electric. They have an electric. Look, KD Johnson is a psychopath. He is a psychopath on the basketball court. He is fantastic defensively. He will get in your face. Duke's ball handlers, they're not going to be able to do anything. Trevor Keels is done. He's out. He's out for the game. Sorry. And KD Johnson is also a guy that can just catch fire out of nowhere. Their guards are a Wendell Moore. He's limitless range. Like, he can shoot from anywhere on the court. They have so much firepower when you're watching their games. Not to mention, I said they mirrored each other. In those 2 comparisons where they have similar players, they have the better one in each. Jabari Smith is better than Paulo. Walker Kessler is better than Mark Williams. So I don't really think there's an argument to be had that Duke is better when even in the only similarities they have, Auburn kills them. And Auburn's backcourt, so much better. So much better than Duke's.
Oh,
so much better. And then you got Zep Jasper off the bench, maybe the best defensive guard in the nation. And Duke, I'm telling you right now, Duke's ball handlers will not be able to take it past half court. They just won't. Rebuttal? Do you have anything? And they play in the sucky ACC.
I would love to bring up the clip probably from last podcast talking about the horrendous backcourt of Auburn, the most inconsistent backcourt probably of any top 10 team in the country other than maybe Kansas, to be honest. Their backcourt is not good. It is the most volatile backcourt maybe in the country. And Duke's, on the other hand, they've got so many guys. It's not even Trevor Keels is way more consistent as far as production than anybody on Auburn in their backcourt.
Whoa.
And Wendell Moore brings that veteran perspective on that team that they normally don't have with these kind of firepower, all recruit teams. I mean, they've got so many high ranked players on this team. Like, you look at Zion, RJ, and Cam Reddish, they didn't really have that vet guy in the backcourt. Well, now they do. Auburn, this is the first year that almost any of these players, other than Walker Kessler, who honestly didn't win at North Carolina either, none of these players have won anything. I mean, Auburn last year was terrible. They, the self-imposed ban, whatever. Obviously, they weren't going to make the tournament.
Did Duke make the tournament last year?
What?
Did Duke make the tournament last year?
No.
Okay.
But to this point, those players don't know how to win. So there's really no advantage in that aspect. So you have to look at this season. I mean, I don't know how you can argue that Duke they win more games. Auburn down the stretch has been abysmal.
Put Auburn in the ACC and see what happens.
They have the same record as Duke.
First of all,
they have the exact same record.
Auburn goes into the ACC.
They don't run the table. They absolutely don't.
100%.
They will have at least 3 losses. You're telling me that the Auburn team that lost to Florida barely beats Ole Miss, goes into overtime with Mississippi State, barely beats Vandy. There's no way. You want to talk about running through the ACC? 75% of their games in the SEC are arguably worse than the ACC teams that they would have to play.
Ooh.
Oh, that's not even a comparison.
There's some bad ACC teams though.
There's some bad SEC teams too.
Yeah, no, for sure. But there's some historically bad ACC, like Boston College. They're not good.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
Who almost lost to Georgia? 74-72.
You know what good teams do?
Who almost lost to Missouri?
You know what good teams do?
55-54.
You know what good teams do? They find a way to win.
And Duke has. They're 26-4.
Did they find a win? Did they find a way to win against Virginia?
Florida.
When it was close game down the stretch.
Florida?
Did they find a way to win against Florida State when it was close game down the stretch? Did they find a way to win against Miami when it was close? No, they didn't.
Did
they find a way to win?
Did Auburn win all their close games this year?
They've won the ones. They've won a lot of them.
Really?
They beat Mississippi
Florida.
State.
They lost.
They beat
Tennessee.
Georgia.
They lost. Arkansas. They lost.
You don't win at Arkansas or at Tennessee. You just don't. You don't.
Why?
Look at their
because
records.
Kentucky
right now.
didn't.
They have a combined 1 loss at home. Both of those. They did.
Interesting.
I'm just saying.
Interesting. Look, we could debate this all we want, but as far as a tournament perspective, there is a clear-cut team that is bound to get upset. If you look at the overall schedule, who has played more close games? We've been knocking Providence for this all year long. You want to talk about luck rating? Duke handles their opponents. They have handled their opponents. They only have 4 losses on the season. Auburn has 4 as well. But if you look at Auburn's schedule playing against the bottom tier SEC teams,
Duke has a higher luck rating than Auburn, by the way.
Yeah, probably. They've had some close games. But do you really want to talk about the Georgia game and the Florida game? I mean, down the stretch, they're awful. They have the worst offense late in games that I have ever seen. And I will find the clip of you saying the exact same thing.
Okay. That was good. That was a good debate. That was one of our best. But it sucks when I have so many takes about every team that's not named Kentucky that is bad. Like I have so many takes about them that I just like, you have so much ammo against me because I just let it all loose on the podcast. Yeah, that was a good one. Look, if I'm being real, like I'm out of debate mode. I think Auburn, I'm very, very scared for them. I'm terrified for them. I told you this, like, and it's real. Like their late game offense in that final possession is terrible. Like it is
bad,
very bad. I don't know. Like Bruce Pearl is a Hall of Fame coach. I keep saying that. Like that's the theme of the episode. He has not done a good job in those late game situations this year.
I expected it to change once they really showed that they haven't figured it out. Mm-hmm. And I expected there to be adjustments made. And I guess it's not too late for that to happen.
Sure seems like it.
It seems like a lost cause at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either they're going to blow a team out in the tournament, or if they're in a close game down the stretch, and I'm looking at some potential betting, some live betting, I'm picking the other team every time.
Yeah. No, that's 100% fair. I'm worried about a lot of teams. I think the teams that need to worry the most are the bubble teams. And I think it is time to go into our bubble segment presented by Connor. I wish we had a sponsor. That'd be so cool if we had sponsors for these segments. Yeah, but yeah, Connor, we can get into the bubble. There's a lot of shakeup this week. It was a big week for the bubble. A lot of teams popped. A lot of teams' bubbles popped this week. So let's hear about them.
Yeah. So again, this is kind of stemmed from Indiana being on the bubble, and after they lost, I assumed it was basically over. But then you kind of look in deeper into things, and the Rutgers loss actually moved up to a quad 2.
I'm watching. I know I'm not going to step on your. I know it's your thing. I'm watching the cycle thing happen real time. You know the cycle thing at Barcelona you post after every game. I'm watching it happen in like real time because you were done after the Rutgers game, and now you're sitting here and telling me there's a chance. But go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm not going to. I mean, there is.
I've gone from F this, it's over, no chance, like 0% to like 35%, something like that. Look, it's hard not to convince yourself that it's possible just because somehow IU is only the first team on the first 4 out, which again, that's on Lunardi's. Mike DeCourcy from Fox also has them in that same category. So again, it's like maybe it's possible. And I'm looking at potential other bubble teams, and if they lose, what could happen? The biggest one was Michigan. They lost again the other night, and they play Ohio State. I don't think they win that game. I know Ohio State's kind of looks rough, but I think it's at Ohio State. That gives Michigan 14 losses. We talked about it. 14 losses getting into the tournament as an at-large just doesn't seem very likely.
Right.
And it just so happens that Indiana's most likely opponent, and it would happen for sure if they lose, would be Michigan. So basically, they've set themselves up here for another play-in before the play-in opportunity. We saw how the first one went. Would hope that things would change in the second one. But again, there's other teams that are involved as well. Loyola Chicago, they play Bradley, I think, this afternoon. We're recording at, 2:18? I think they play at 3:30. That's going to be a quad 2 game for them. I'd say they probably win. They're -5.5. So they'll probably win that. And then they'll play Northern Iowa, who I think they lost to just a couple weeks ago.
They did in OT, yeah.
So that's going to be a quad 1 game for them, I assume. Not totally sure on that as far as the neutral site and where they have to be in the net for that. If they win both of those, I think they're probably in. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to win their conference tournament at that point. So they're a team to be on the lookout for. BYU is another interesting one. They play Loyola Marymount. Quad 4 game, not really going to have any implications, I don't think. If they win that one, they play San Francisco. San Francisco's also on the bubble. They, I think, in Lunardi's are first. I don't think they're last 4, and I think they're ahead of that tier. So that's going to be interesting.
Last 4 buys.
Yes. Okay. So again, I think if they lose to BYU, they probably still get in. But if BYU beats them, I think they probably are both. They're probably both going to get in, which is bad for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis, they're another team we've talked about. I can't believe that they're the team, which I've kind of been jokingly behind all year. They're going to be the team to knock Indiana out. That's kind of disappointing. But they play Houston on Sunday. If they win that one, they're in.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else to talk about. If they lose that one, they play UCF, then probably SMU in their conference tournament. Probably have to win 2 games to get it.
Yeah.
I would think. I think if they lose to UCF, they're in trouble. Again, SMU's another bubble team. They play Tulane, then they play Cincinnati in the first round of their conference tournament. They basically have to win out as well. So those are the majority of the bubble teams that I'm kind of looking at right now. Oregon's another one that's kind of been in and out, but they keep losing. So that's going to be interesting to see down the stretch. And let's see, who's the other one? Xavier. They're falling off the rails.
Mhm.
They play Georgetown. They're probably going to win that one, I would think. If they lose that one, they're done. That's quad four.
Yeah.
Then they get to play Butler in their conference tournament. I'd assume they win that one. Then they'll have to play Providence. I think for them,
You don't beat Providence. You cover, you
No.
don't beat them. Yeah.
no, I don't think they beat Providence. So I think if they win those first two, they're probably still in. I don't think a loss to Providence really hurts you. But if they lose to Georgetown or Butler, I think they're out.
Yeah.
Like I really do. So again, Indiana's got an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have to win at least one in the Big Ten tournament to make things interesting. Also, if they win at Purdue, completely unlikely scenario, I think they're in. I really do. I think it's almost a lock.
So I have one scenario for you that could destroy the entire bubble situation. And it happened last year. So it's not like this is completely out of the realm of possibility. There's 5 teams I circled that could really, really, really destroy a lot of teams' hopes by stealing a bit, winning their conference tournament, stealing a bit.
I haven't talked about this.
Oregon has as good a chance as anybody to win the Pac-12 tournament. SMU as good a chance as anybody to win the AAC tournament, which they may already be in at that point. I'm not sure.
Counter on them though, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think if SMU wins their conference tournament, barring that Memphis doesn't beat Houston on Sunday, I think that almost knocks Memphis off the bubble.
Okay. Oh, because Memphis would have to lose
because they'll have to play each other.
Yeah.
So I think again, it's lining up to where these bubble teams have to play each other.
Yeah,
which works in Indiana's favor because at least one of them is going to get eliminated. So, but go on.
I think there's 2 out of the A10 that could really screw things up because I think Davidson is a team that's solidly in if they don't win their tournament. I believe, right? I'm not sure where they wind up on seeding. They may be on the bubble if they don't win, but I believe they'd still be in. I'm trying to find them or Davidson. Let's see. 11. They'd be in 11 as an automatic qualifier. Obviously they'd have to lose, but I think Dayton or VCU has a chance of winning that tournament. I think that's up for grabs. And I think if Davidson would be on that bubble and it would knock somebody off. And then finally Xavier. Like I don't see, like, Xavier has been one of the coldest teams in the country. They've been on a skyfall, an absolute skyfall for the last month, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how bad Xavier's been. This is the first time I've actually seen them on the bubble when they've been on this skyfall trajectory for a long time. But it's a Big East. Xavier, we know they have the potential to win games. They did it earlier in the year. So what's stopping them from doing it at the end? Maybe their drought stops and they go in, they win the Big East tournament. Does that knock somebody off? It's hard to tell. But that's kind of. Oh, you got one more? Cool.
Belmont could. I think they're totally off the bubble now. Which at one point I think that we're on it. A lot of brackets early on were kind of predicting that they were potentially, it was going to be a 2-bid league for them.
Yeah.
And their record is really good. They're 25-6. Mm-hmm. The problem is when they've played Murray, they've got destroyed.
It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Yeah.
The last time they played, it was 76-43. That was at Murray. And
okay,
they played at Belmont and they lost by 22.
The committee, this would cause a ruckus if Belmont wins and the committee doesn't let Murray. Can you imagine that happening? Murray's in. Okay, but can you imagine? Can you imagine the outroar? Because Murray's going to be like a 10 seed. They are. Like
Think so?
the committee is not going to respect them. It's
I'm
going to be
curious on where. Let me see where
what
DeCourcy
Wichita
has him.
State did. They're going to be
Murray is a
9 or
7
10.
in DeCourcy.
Okay. I promise you, they're going to be lower than you expect. It's going to piss some people off. Yeah.
If they're in the 8-9 matchup, it's going to be really unfortunate for them because they're ranked.
Yeah. I mean, they are a ranked team. They're a top
rightfully
25
so
team.
or not, but they've been playing better than anyone. They're on an 18-game win streak. So,
yeah. But I mean, that could really cause some problems. I mean, it did happen last year in 2 weeks. It happened with Georgetown and it happened with Oregon State. That knocked Louisville and Duke, very funny, out of the bracket last year. And that's pretty amazing. All right, let's move on into the weekend preview. Do you have any last words on the bubble?
Sorry,
just
as far as Indiana's case goes, I think it's set up for them, like we talked about at 1:30 in the morning after the Indiana Rutgers game. We're looking at the Big Ten tournaments the last 5 or 6 years. There's been some wild, crazy stuff going on in those tournaments.
Yeah.
Really just unexpected things happen in the big, which is why, as an Indiana fan, when they were good with Crean, that's why we hate it so much, because we were always the team that was losing. And it is set up for them this year, I think, to not only get to play Michigan, most likely, and knock off a bubble team, and then they get to play a team in Wisconsin that, again, I've said, that they probably think they should have beaten them twice. And it's very hard to beat a third. It's very hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. It just is. I don't care what the teams are, especially on a neutral site in a conference tournament like that. I think things are set up for them. Whether they take advantage of it or not, I'll believe it when I see it. I want to believe it. I'll probably talk myself into it by next week, regardless of the Purdue outcome. Sam's going to have to deal with the annoying IU fan in me and thinking they're still going to get in.
I know I'm going to be driving up to Indy, just turning up the music.
It's just Indiana fans want it so bad that they will talk themselves into anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's fan. I'm not judging you for that. It's a fan. Yeah. But yeah, let's move on into the preview of the weekend. We got a good weekend. It's a good weekend of college basketball. This is the last. I mean, this weekend won't compare to what's going to happen from now on. But this is the last kind of, believe it or not, regular season weekend. After this, it is all tournament. Every bit of it is all tournament. So let's kind of get into it. The first one I want to talk about, Arkansas goes to Tennessee. Before we talk about the actual game, there is a storyline within Arkansas that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I can't believe that they're getting paraded for it. So when you go to Bud Walton Arena, Arkansas has I don't know if it's there, it might just be on the Twitter, but they have a counter for the amount of charges that their center, Jalen Williams, takes. And it is the lamest thing on earth. It is the absolute lamest thing on earth. And it's because he takes a lot of charges. Why in the world are we parading the most broken rule in basketball? The most broken rule in basketball. What makes college basketball so hard to watch sometimes? It does. I'm the biggest college basketball fan on earth. And that is the most frustrating thing on earth, because it makes the guard worried to go inside because they're worried that they're going to pick up a foul when it's insane. They're driving. A 6-foot guard is driving and meeting a 7-footer in the paint, standing and falling. It is the saddest thing. And there's a word I want to say it. I'm not going to say it. It is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. And we're allowing it to happen in this sport. And Arkansas's parading it. Look, whatever, take advantage of the rules, sure, because it's so broken. But everybody's going to make fun of you for it. and it is, the refs are so accustomed to calling those fouls for him that, look it up, Connor. I know you saw the clip because it went viral on Twitter. They will call the worst charges you've ever seen for him because they're just assuming, okay, yeah, he was set because he always takes the charge. It's tough. It's not going to last in the tournament because they're not at Bud Walton Arena, and those guys don't know who Jalen Williams is. The refs won't know who he is when they get to the tournament. That's kind of my thing. I think Arkansas is going to lose by 1,000 points to Tennessee.
Wow.
Just because this home court advantage in the SEC is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It's like for those top 4 teams, it's like what was the Big Ten in our freshman year. Remember our freshman year when it wasn't until like more than halfway through the Big Ten play that a away team actually won.
Yep.
Or some crazy stat like that. But that's all I had to say.
Same way, yeah. I'm not gonna. I get it. The charge call is pretty bad in college basketball, but I'm not gonna fault the guy for trying. Like, I get it. A big guy.
He's a baby. That's a baby. You are incentivizing him to be a baby and get ran over by a 160-pound guard when you're 270 pounds.
I feel a little differently about that.
You
Because
feel differently about that?
I think if the big is in position to take the charge, take it. And
He doesn't even
first
go
off,
for a block anymore. Like, he doesn't.
but see, that's the thing, though. Say in this hypothetical situation, you've got a guard coming at you and you're in the set position, like guaranteed to get the charge call, or not even guaranteed. Say there's like a 75% chance. If you instead don't take the charge and go for the block, it's a 50-50 shot. You're going to get a foul call. There's a better chance that you are going to get the call in your favor, not only get a foul on the opponent, but it's a big momentum shift. Charges, like it or not, the rule is frustrating.
That's
it matters.
I'm not faulting them for taking advantage of the rule. I agree. Like that, they're taking advantage of the rule. And I think it goes back to the rule is stupid because it's basketball.
You think there shouldn't be charges in basketball?
Well, I don't know how you fix it. I think that's probably the way to, that's a complete swing in the opposite direction. And then you have more problems. You have different problems, at least. But in basketball, what you should be incentivizing is the big to actually contest the shot. No, like that should be what you want to happen. Not somebody just waiting.
Not if he's in the right position, though.
Not with somebody just waiting with their hands in front of their nuts, waiting to get ran over. That's stupid. I think the rule is
in the
dumb.
position. I think it's look. The problem is that the officials have gone so far off the rails of not being able to call it correctly. People are sliding over too late. They're sliding under a defender when they're in the air.
The example I was talking about was the worst charge I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I don't think people are complaining about the rule if it's called correctly.
No, maybe not. But like, I think it's it's kind of a dumb rule.
Look, not to say that I don't want to talk about NBA. I watch the Heat play. They take the most charges in the NBA.
Are you parading about that?
I'm just saying they take the most charges in the NBA. It helps their defense immensely because they don't have a rim protector. And Arkansas isn't a very big team. I mean, I know they have.
He is 7 foot. Like he is a 7-footer.
But at the same time, other than him, if he gets in foul trouble for one, if he's consistently over and over contesting those shots, he's going to get in foul trouble. It's just going to happen because even if you clean block somebody, they're going to call a foul. They will call a foul at some point. I think it's all part of the strategy. Plus, like you said, if you are good at taking charges and getting to that position, the other team can't drive to the basket. They're afraid to go to the basket, and it limits their offense.
It's a dumb rule. It's a dumb rule, and it's ruining basketball. It's ruining basketball. It is.
The charge isn't a dumb rule. The way they're officiating it is dumb.
The more that this conversation goes on, the more I think we should get rid of the charge call. Yes, because look, the only charge I think that matters, that should stay, obviously, is when the defender is not actively pursuing it. Like if they get like just ran over, if they just get like ran over, then that's
So
a
you're
charge.
saying that a guy from
But
the
if
perimeter,
if I see a guy slide over from the other side of the paint,
that's a
offense
skill
the offensive player has no choice but to run into him because their momentum
because
is
they're
already
out of
there.
control. That's what the charge call is. You can't drive to the basket out of control. It's an
Dumb.
offensive foul.
It's dumb.
So you're saying that a guy beats
hate
his
it.
defender, is
I
out
hate
of
it.
control.
Why not? Let's get weird. Let's just get rid of
That's
it.
unbelievable.
Let's go with the complete opposite direction. Yes.
It's such a skill to be able to slide over and take a charge again correctly. The officials are calling it incorrectly. They're falling into the slide under, slide over too late, lean into it.
Those are the worst. Those are
the bad
worst.
calls.
Yeah.
But taking the chart, no. I mean, it is not a
Let's
dumb
just get
rule.
weird. Let's just get weird.
No, I can't. I can't.
You hated that. You hated that.
That's terrible.
Let's get weird. Why not?
I sound like an old basketball head.
Old. You sound so old, dude. But like, just I don't know, man. Like, would it be worse than what we have now?
Absolutely.
You think? You actually think? Because
the defender basically gets a foul every play. It would be a defender getting a foul every play at this point because they could drive uncontrollably to the basket. And basically, the defender has no choice but to either completely get out of the way or they're going to foul them. Like, there is no way they don't foul them.
I mean, that's true. But, I mean, it's a tremendous advantage right now. In college basketball, it's a tremendous advantage to the defense. There's
officiate it right, and there's no problem.
It's true. But then I might as well just throw a lot of these games out. But and then there's the problem. Like, here's a solution that would cause more problems than it would solve, I think, in a different manner. If we're allowing review for the charge block, that would suck.
Oh,
but
thank God.
that's the only way that like that we can assure the refs would get it right. But that would slow down the game so much. It would be like it would.
I do have a point on that. I think that college should adopt the NBA rule. A coach, and this goes for the college football too.
The challenge.
I think challenges in college, you should get one. I think you should, like, basically in the NBA, you call a timeout, you challenge the play. I think you should get one. I really do. I think you should get one. It doesn't slow the game down too much.
Then you got to get rid of something that kind of speed it up.
They review too many calls anyway, and it's all these questionable calls that would get challenged anyway. So I really don't think it would slow the games down that much because half the time, and you've seen it, and it drives me absolutely insane. It happened again in the Rutgers game. Players just ask for reviews. They go up to officials and are like,
"Well, there's your challenge. There's your challenge." Yeah,
just make it a formal challenge. Just make it. But then
that might actually speed up the game. Then that might
once you challenge it, there is no more of this. Oh, I need to review. No, it's over. Yeah. And I think that would actually be better for the game.
Yeah, that's an interesting dialogue. I can kind of get behind. I don't usually support things from the NBA, but I mean, as whatever speeds up the game, please. Like, because I can't deal with all the breaks and all the TV timeouts, and it's really.
I think the officials, they need to be held accountable too.
I will say I've watched more college basketball than I ever have in my life this year. This year is probably the most college basketball I've ever watched in my entire life. I've always been, I still am, I'm the number one supporter of college basketball, but I get why people have trouble watching these regular season games. From how much I've watched, I'm starting to, and it's starting to annoy me, and I've never been annoyed by it. But I'm just like, oh my God, like the charges, and oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's so hard to watch. Like, there's so many things that are hard to get behind it.
Again, and I hate bringing up the NBA because I know you hate it. They kind of revamped the officiating this year. Free throw numbers are way down. The pace is picked up. I think the changing of how officials are officiating the game is necessary, especially
I think that starts with accountability. doesn't it?
Absolutely. Like I was
Yeah.
saying, someone, I think it's been Inside the Hall. Um, they tweet that officials should have to do post game pressers and
No. First of
have
all,
to be
no.
asked. Would that not be funny though? If
No, because there would be the lamest people. Think about Doug Shows. Think about Bo Borowski. All those guys.
oh my, Bo
No.
Borowski in an interview would be hilarious.
But those guys, they think that the crowd is there for them, and they will make calls in that way. If now they're having a microphone after the game in front of their face, can you imagine how unbearable they would be during the games?
I think it would make them make better calls.
Maybe,
because if they have to answer to such a bad
are
call publicly, if they have to defend, if they defend a terrible call publicly and say, you know what, that was the right call and it clearly wasn't, you're fired. You're gone. Like it's just unbelievable.
If that's an actual thing that they would do, then yes. Like if they would actually like have the balls.
I want them to come out
guys.
and either say that they are defending these terrible calls, or I want them to continue to say every post game interview, yeah, I made the wrong call again. Yep, I made the wrong call over and over.
Well, I think 2-minute reports and stuff like that, I think that's the most useless thing on earth, most inconsequential thing that has ever happened. Because it always says, yeah, we were wrong on maybe the most important call. Yeah,
nothing even happens from it.
Yeah, let's move on.
We just went on a huge tangent there.
What's your pick for Arkansas, Tennessee?
I think Tennessee probably wins. Like you said, they're at home. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Arkansas.
I think Arkansas is really good. I think they're
a really good player. They have two really good players.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of up in the air after that. They're good.
Chris likes another bad transfer. Another bad one.
I think they're good. I don't know about them making a big tournament run if they get cold. But easily they could go to the Elite Eight or something like that. But I think playing at Tennessee, like you said, they're probably going to lose this one. Just a scheduled loss. No big deal.
I mean, no big deal. Move on. Kentucky at Florida. I mean, look.
Big game, honestly.
It could be big. Like, I think this decides whether they'll be the 3 or the 4. I don't think they can even be the 2 anymore in the SEC. And, Kentucky at Florida. I thought I saw something today that it was impossible for them to.
Well, I don't know. They're ahead of Tennessee in the standings right now. I don't know what the tiebreaker is.
Arkansas is the tiebreaker against Kentucky. And do they have the same record, though, as Arkansas?
They all are 13. Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee all have the same record right now. And 2, 3, 4, it's Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee. So I'm thinking that UK is above Tennessee. So if they both win.
Kentucky has the tiebreaker on Tennessee.
Yes. So if they both win, I think Kentucky would be the 2.
Okay, then I don't know why. I read that somewhere. I don't know. I must be going insane. But Kentucky, they have a chance to improve their SEC tournament seed. They have a chance to improve their NCAA tournament seed. Because look, as much as we make fun of Florida, I mean, this is obviously quad 1, right? Like you're the quad 1, quad 2 guy. Like I'd be shocked if this wasn't.
It has to be, I would think.
So, and it looked scary because Auburn just walked in and lost it, but they played terrible against Florida. I'm not too worried. Obviously, I mean, it's Kentucky, Florida. Who knows what could happen? Look, we watched him. This is a game Ty got hurt in. Now he's back. Now he's playing well again. Kentucky's making a lot of changes to to their plays and everything, and how they're going to defend moving forward because their defense took a steep dive after Severe and Ty went out. I haven't been the same since on the defensive end. So I think this is a get right game for Kentucky. I think they have, but again, look, it's a senior night at Florida. Anything can happen, either way. I don't think it's too consequential. I think they're, as much as I never say take it for granted, I think the fan base is kind of like, okay, let's get to the tournament. Like I'm ready. We haven't been to a tournament in like 3 years, so I would imagine they'd be ready. Do you feel that way, or?
Not even. Yeah. Kentucky will be fine. I don't think I don't think Florida is very good. So, are they in the bubble or are they solidly in?
Bubble.
Where?
Bubble. Next 4 out. in
Okay.
minority.
Well, good
So
God, if
not
Kentucky
really.
loses. If Kentucky loses this game, it's just going to piss me off even more, which is probably why they will. The one time I need Kentucky to win, they're going to.
Would Florida
they'll
be
lose, so.
in? Like, I don't think they'd jump that much with one
No,
win,
but
would they?
It's
just another team to
they
worry
gain
about, yeah.
momentum,
Yeah.
and then in the conference tournament they start bracket. No, Kentucky needs to bury them, so Mike White can just get fired.
Oh, he's terrible. He's so bad. But they'll probably hire somebody good. I'd imagine Florida can attract a really good coach. Fantastic.
Yep.
Indiana at Purdue. I think we'll finish off with this because we've been going for like 2 hours. I feel like
A long time. Yeah, it's up. Yeah,
let's
I
hear
don't
it.
like this game, by the way. I just I think.
What about it?
that
Why don't you like it? Like
I have already like moved on to the conference tournament. I basically like blocked this game out because I don't
Yeah.
even want. I don't want it to even. I wish they could just like cancel it. Just don't even play it. I mean, Purdue has
Forfeit the
no
game, yeah.
chance. Purdue has no chance of winning the conference. They have really nothing to gain from this because
but
either
it's
they beat-
rivalry and it's
I
senior.
mean, I
night.
get it. I get it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, and I just don't even want to play it. I don't want to play it because they're going to get killed probably, and I don't think it hurts their resume because it's Purdue's top 10 team on the road, but they kind of have to keep it close for a little bit. So if they get beat by 40, it's going to kill their metrics a little bit. So just keep it close for like a half. That's all I ask. I mean, that is really not too much to ask, I don't think, after you beat this team the first time.
All right. I'm just gonna put some stuff into an equation, like into a little formula. Okay, Purdue at home. Well, obviously, that is something it's really hard to get over, right? Purdue
Yeah.
at home plus coming off loss. Purdue coming off a loss
Yes.
plus IU coming off a heartbreaking loss. It doesn't look good. It really,
no.
really doesn't look good.
Plus, Indiana beat them the first time.
Yeah,
you've got senior
revenge
night.
plus revenge
Like,
plus senior. Yeah,
I mean, there's so many things that it's not even worth it. I can't even put on a brave face and say they've got a chance, like a really good chance, because they matched up well with them decently the first time. No, it's just let's get to the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I think we're both kind of on that. Like, I think we have different opinions on what our teams will do tomorrow, but I think we're both just like, oh my God, can we just please get to the tournament? Like, I don't want to wish the season away because it's been a fantastic season. Like, I've had a lot of fun. Nationally, it's been a fantastic season. Like,
Yes.
Objectively. And I don't want to wish it away, but this is going to be, if it is anything like the regular season, it's going to be the best tournament we've had in a long time, a very long time. So, yeah, I think we'll leave it off on that. Long episode, great episode. I had a lot of fun. But look, the podcasts are going to start coming out more regularly. How do you want to do it? Like, because we can do, how should we do this? We can do it before the first round. We can do one before the first round, one after the first round, previewing the second, and then just kind of keep doing that in a cycle.
We'll have to figure it out. I mean, it's
and then
it's hard
one
to cover
after the second
I think what is also possible is we can do some pods previewing the first round, some spaces in there to kind of do the micro stuff.
Now that we can get it on
Macro-wise.
the feed too is huge. That's huge.
I think we'll have to figure that out, but just be on the lookout for that.
We're gonna have a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of content, tons of content. My family's not going to see me for weeks, but thank you guys for joining me. Seriously, go check us out on Twitter, give us a follow, go to the YouTube, subscribe if you're not already there for this podcast, which you should have been. We did a wheel, for Christ's sakes. Like and subscribe, 5 stars. Come on, give us 5 stars. If you enjoyed your time here, 5 stars.
And go follow us on, again, I don't like doing this all the time, but go follow us on Twitter. just if you haven't already, to get you'll get that notification that we are doing the spaces.
Mhm.
It's fun when there's more people in there. Get some interaction. We let people speak. We let them kind of bounce ideas that they have off of us, give their ideas on stuff that we've said previously. So the more people in there, the better.
I had some takes in the last. I had some takes.
Martha roasted you,
He
which
was
is
on my
hilarious.
ass. I was just sitting there like not saying a word, and then you just said, "Well, me and Sam are going to the Big Ten tournament," and he's like, "Why would Sam ever?"
Yeah.
He said he
And
knows
it was,
Kentucky's not
you
in the
should have
Big Ten.
immediately just said, to see the misery of IU fans. That would have been the only thing that you should have just said that.
I find joy in other people's sorrows. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Connor, thanks for joining me, and love you guys.